Hi everyone, welcome back to another video, and this time I'm doing the December Color Combo Challenge, and that is hosted by PM Artist Studio over on Facebook, and it's called The Makers of Mixed Media Art and Artists. And the first color I'm using is the micaceous iron oxide from Golden. It's got a cool texture to it, so that's why I wanted to start with this particular one. And for the stencil, I'm using Christy Hartman's Sunflower Gate. That's also available at pmartiststudio.com, and it's a really beautiful stencil. I'm gonna make two different prints today, slightly different, using the same stencil. Now this is the first pull I did on copy paper. I'm not going to use it in the project. I'll save that for some other project. And for the next color, I'm using a very cheap acrylic paint, but I like it. It works well. It's a metallic, it's like a very pale ivory. And I'll do a layer of that, then pull it with tissue of the wet strength kind, the carnival tissue. There's still some paint left behind, so I'm just going to pick it up with that first print I did on the copy paper, just to make sure I don't have too much paint left on the plate. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sponge in some paints of the different colors that are part of the combo. And the colors are silver, gold, white, black, and gray. So right now I'm using Mars Black, and I am putting it into certain areas. I kind of want to darken up the edges. Now to make the gray, I'm just using some Liquitex soft body white paint, just mixing it in, making a basic gray. I didn't want to make it too bright, so I didn't add too much of the white. I'm going to mix in a tiny bit of blue to this gray mixture just to kind of brighten it up a little bit more. Before I go on to the next step, I'm going to let this all dry on the plate with the stencil and move on to the second print. For the second print, I'm going to start with the stencil all lit up by PM Artist Studio, and I'm going to sponge in some gold over all the different stars. I'm not using my brayer because I think that's just going to add way too much more paint than I need. So I'm using the sponge, and it turns out pretty good. They turned out great. So I'm going to let this gel plate dry, And I'm going to come in here to the first one, pull off the stencil, and using some matte medium, gel medium, I'm going to put a thin layer of that on, and then I'll pull it onto the paper. I'm using a Hammermill 32-pound color copy paper, and that is going to be the base of the print, and then I'll do more later on. That turned out really well. So for the next step, I'm going to add the stencil back over the design directly on the paper. And what I want to do is I want to take some silver paint and gold paint and sponge it into the different open areas of the design of the stencil. Next step, I'm taking a foam stamp from PM Artist Studio. It's the same as the star stencil, all lit up, and it's just a square foam stamp, and I'm going to use some gold paint and put some stars all over my print. To finish off this first print, I just took a Sharpie marker and I went all around the stencil design and outlined everything just so it would stand out a little bit more. this turned out. I think I made the right decision here. Now, going back to the other plate that has the stars on it, I put the stencil back down, and I'm going to add, as you can see here, with the sponge, gold paint. And then I'm taking some cold gray and Mars black, and those are from Hippie Crafters paints. Mixing them all up, and just to kind of create like a bluish gray with a little bit of sparkle, and then just put it on with a palette knife in certain areas. I wanted to do that just because it's a little thicker. And then I'm using some white with the same cold gray and going over this with the star stamp. Unfortunately, the next part I didn't get on video because I forgot to turn the camera on, but as you can see here, it's blue. So what I did is I took some phthalo blue from Hippie Crafters and went over the stencil and the whole plate, pulled that up, let it dry, and now I'm going over it with a silver paint. This is a distressed silver from Tim Holtz Ranger, and now I'm going to pull this print. And if you're wondering, this is a wooden Baron that I'm using, and it's used to burnish the print down onto the plate. And as you can see, that outline there, that's the oil I used to condition my plate. And that just means that I've left this on the plate for a few hours, and so that oil starts to come in, but it doesn't affect the print whatsoever. But you can see how beautiful that turned out. Really, really cool. So these are my two prints for December's Makers Color Combo Challenge, hosted by Carrie Griffiths and Paula Keene. Thank you so much for watching. Here are some photos of the prints.